Right on. How are you today?
I'm doing okay today.
So, last time we left off on in terms of Vietnam, and you were explaining to me how there was many flaws going on in there. And recently, I found out that Vietnam was, like I said before, like I said before, it was about a civil war they were having also, and that the French also interfered in there. Can you explain to me about the French?
I think French used to occupy Vietnam. It used to be one of their, I guess, their colonies before, I guess, Vietnam, the communists got in. So French had to withdraw. I think that's when the Americans came in. So, but French been there, occupied there for quite some time. It's one of, and if you ever seen like Vietnamese written, it's actually using the Roman alphabet, and French. It was the French that brought that to them.
But how is it? How did that? Why did they bring that?
Well, it's probably, I would say it's like when they had like priests or fathers that were, I guess
Was that a
religion. Yeah, kind of when religion's kind of, when they want to spread religion, Catholic things like that, or when you think about Jesus. So I guess it was much more easier to read the Roman alphabet. So that's when they introduced the alphabet to the Vietnamese.
So the French actually came in with like a bunch of religions and just established it there.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of introduced. Yeah, it's always been. I guess any countries, like small countries, someone will come in. Hey, I want to introduce you this religion. So.
Right.
And they found it probably more convenient, if they were using it, the alphabet or the Roman characters.
Do you know any of Vietnamese religions?
Generally, they're Vietnamese are either Buddhists or there's some other ones that I don't know about. It's more, I guess, fanatic type.
What do you mean fanatic type?
I guess. I know my mother mentioned it, but I guess it's almost. You know what? I guess I don't remember it.
Can you explain it though?
Well, basically, they would. It's almost similar to Scientology, almost, but I can't. I don't remember the details on it. How I'll have to ask her again.
Scientology like that side about the aliens and stuff.
Yeah, but this one is not quite there yet, so.
But it's still pretty.
It's pretty fanatic. Yeah, you pretty much do a lot for the religion, but it doesn't do much for you. So.
Does your mom have a religion?
It's Buddhism. Buddhist. And
how does that work? Like, what is Buddhism?
It's a way. I guess it's a way of life. I'm not sure if it's a religion or not, but it's how to live life, kind of more peacefully. Talks about vegetarian diet, or living kind of peaceful way, meditation. I guess train of thoughts. It's like you don't kill things just because it's fun or whatnot.
Kind of like Christianity in a way.
Yeah, in a way.
Like, what's the difference between Christianity and Buddhism? Do you know any of the differences there?
Anything. I'm not sure if there may be some deities that they worship, but again, it's not. I guess it's more of philosophies, I guess.
Right. In Christianity, they believe like Jesus and God and stuff like that. And in Buddhism, what is Buddha? What is the symbol of Buddha? What does that mean?
Well, Buddha, it's originated in India, so it kind of spread to China, and China kind of spread downward to Southeast Asia. I believe Buddha was once a prince, and then he kind of gave up his position, in the society, and just become what he is, just peaceful and just just live in I guess living with simplicity.
All right, that's pretty cool. So, are there any more Vietnamese religions that you know about?
Not that I know of.
But okay, so then when the French came in, they established a lot of religions in Vietnam. What were like some of the examples?
Yeah, Christian.
Christian?
Yeah,
Christianity?
Christian, just the major one. The other thing is they brought with them is like different, like their culinary arts. They brought that with them. Like the baguette.
Baguette.
Yeah, this is like a French bread. Yeah.
Bacon.
Yes, but I guess in Vietnam they shrink it down to size almost. Spanish, I think they have something similar at like Fiesta or something like that.
Oh yeah, el
Small.
bolio.
Yes, it's pretty much the same, but it's a little bit bigger. So, French cuisine, like cakes and things like that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Are there like any certain food styles that Vietnamese have?
I think the most famous national dish is pho. It's basically a rice noodle dish, has beef broth, sliced beef, very thin, really thin slice. So, and that is served raw, but the hot broth will cook it,
Right.
and has cilantros in it, jalapenos. Yeah, it was pretty good. Then I think I believe it's oyster sauce, hot sauce. It's pretty good. So,
Awesome. Hey, other than okay, we went on a tangent there, but like let's go back to like the war itself. During the times that were going on of the war, are you aware like whenever your mom was like you were telling me also about your father? Was he any part of the Vietnam?
I don't think he was. He left our family at age 5. So when I was 5, he didn't. I don't think he mentioned much of anything, not anything I recall. I know he wasn't involved in any sort of military. I don't think he was of that type. So,
Right. No, because like okay, so back then during the war in Vietnam, what were some of the foods that they would actually try to eat? Are you aware of that?
well, I guess during the war, food's become kind of scarce, scarce. Um, you would almost try to steal food, like fruits off people's tree. It's, like people generally they grow like certain fruits and things in backyards, and they have their own trees and mangoes or anything that's. Let's see. There's some tropical food over there. I can't remember the English name, so. But,
You know Vietnamese thing?
hold on. Let me see.
Because I've actually seen, I don't know if this Vietnamese food or not, but it's like a star fruit. Have you seen those?
Yes, star fruit is actually one of the tropical fruit that's over there.
I love star fruit.
Yeah. One thing you wouldn't want to do is like eat it when you're. Well, the thing is, it makes you dehydrate even more.
Really?
Yes, it does. So
Yes,
if you're out in like an island, and it's probably not recommended to eat it.
Okay then. So other than seeing fruits and stuff like, so.
It's definitely difficult to eat over there. I mean, they have to work like a really, in the day work. They can probably only afford like pound of rice or something like that. So that's in a day's work.
Wow.
So it can be difficult to come by food.
So it's like, so the whole family pretty much got to survive on a pot of rice or something.
Yeah, pot of rice, and sometimes you don't even have any side dishes, or sometimes you don't even get rice. You get this thing. It's almost like a potato, but its texture is much different. So it grows underground.
What is it?
Again, I could say it's almost like a potato, but it's not. So.
Right. Okay. Okay, because in Vietnam, as far as I'm aware, didn't Kennedy have something to do with that also?
Yeah, there was, Kennedy, I think he really wanted to push in for, he wanted to assist the South Vietnamese, but I guess the president at the time did, of the South Vietnamese, he's like, oh, this is a civil war,
It's not your problem.
Yeah, it's not your problem, if you want to help us, just provide the ammunition and guns, but, I guess, Americans wanted to intervene, and, I guess it cost more. I think, some people say it cost more trouble than should have been, because, there's always war, I guess, rules of war or something like that. And, I guess they made it complicated for them.
Right, so it's like, it was because the North was communist.
Yeah, they were getting their assistance from like countries like China, ammunition provided to them.
That's pretty crazy, actually. So, okay, so you're telling me the North had, like, was combined with China, and the South was French and the United States?
Yes.
The Soviet Union had nothing to do with that?
I'm not sure, but it's mostly China, because I would imagine China, because it was the closest country, to it. I mean, Vietnam is fairly, I guess, the land is much, I guess it's really well, it's green, it has major ports around it, so
What are those?
I don't remember the ports around Vietnam, but it's definitely important.
Well, what are they like? What are they good for?
Oh, it's good for like I guess fishing, import export, things like that. So and it allows you to travel from south to north really quickly because you're on ships and it just goes right there.
So people like they would kill. I remember in school we're learning that there was a like soldiers who actually kill people. I think just because they thought they were communists or something, or the other way around.
I think it goes both ways. American would kill Vietnamese. Hey, I don't know what. If I've done some research myself, so even American has done it. So maybe friendly fire, others just orders, that you don't even know about.
Like even though they didn't know, they just.
Yeah, I've done some research. The other thing is that even I guess the communists, they would kill any Vietnamese that they were suspicious of. So they would make you work for them. You had to buy food for them. You had to go up there, to the mountains and work for them. I don't know what type of work, but it's supposed to like labor work. And again, you gotta provide them food and people. And again, I'm telling you, food was kind of scarce. So you have not only you have to provide them food, you have to even feed yourself. So
you basically have to work with two people, like yourself and somebody else.
yes.
You're basically maintaining someone above your.
Yes, and if you refuse, it just give you the lead bullets. Give you the bullets.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, so even the neighbors become suspicious, or some become kind of greedy. It's like, or hateful. They can accuse you of being a spy for the American, and they can just go and tell the communists, hey, this person is a spy, whatever. They just shoot you without question.
Looks like you just somebody who's trying to shoot them.
Yep.
Do you think anybody would blackmail each other like that?
Oh, I would imagine so. There's no doubt in my mind.
Wow, it's pretty intense. It's like, so it was just the communists, or also the South side did that also?
South was, South wasn't stupid. They know that they had spies in their network, so, but I'm not sure how they dealt with it.
So it's like, so basically it was top was communists and the bottom were Republican, I guess.
I would, let me see. I think they had a particular name. Wookyak. Wookyak.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. That's. I guess I don't know. I don't remember what the English phrase for that was, but that's what South Vietnamese identify as.
Cool. So you know a lot of Vietnamese.
I know how to speak a little bit Vietnamese, but not very, not as proper as some others,
Like
the
their
others. Yeah.
So it's like a second language.
Yes, it's my second language.
English and Vietnamese. That's pretty cool. All right. So also from I know from the communists is that as far as I'm concerned, the man had a vision. The one that was leading, I don't know his name. I got his name, but he was like had a vision that he didn't want people being rich or poor, in the same class.
Yeah. His name's Ho Chi Minh, and I think.
What was it?
Ho Chi Minh.
Ho Chi Minh?
Yeah. He has this. I think Saigon was named after. After Saigon fell, they named the city, named the capital after him. So, but I think, he did have some sort of vision like that. But I think he was kind of like I think he was more of a puppet. So people and.
Like, what do you mean?
I think the people around him is just, around him to, I guess, get the power around, to have the power around him. After he died, of course, they didn't do what a true communist would do, where where wealth was distributed evenly. No, that didn't happen. That was more, they probably take all the wealth for themselves, so.
Okay, so they had good intentions, but they didn't turn it to be.
That's how it was advertised about communism. It's like, oh, you're poor, let's get all these rich guys, and we'll split the wealth with you, and you just fight for us.
So
money,
like, I'm gonna take all like the rich people's money, I'm gonna give it to the poor, so that we'll all be the same level, and just get it for themselves.
Yeah, they just kept it for themselves. So.
And then so in the opposite side, they didn't really want everybody to see the same. They wanted to have rich and the poor. Or?
It was, I guess, you gotta work. I guess the South is like, you gotta work for your money. You can't just get money out of nothing. It's almost
right.
I guess it supported more capitalism. So you make what you earn.
So it's okay. Like in the North, like they were communists, right? So. And then they would also take the money from people that they thought they would be really rich. Would they target anybody in the South? Like, wouldn't they try to get somebody that was rich from the South?
Yeah, they'll target anyone that has some sort of asset. You have a house, they'll take that away from you. You have a mansion, they'll take that away. Car, bicycle, they'll take.
They just get it for themselves, right?
They just keep it for themselves. One of the first things that communists did is to take over the South Vietnamese bank. So they head over to the bank, take all the money. Yeah. So people that had like savings or CD accounts, they lost money in it. So.
All right. So like the communists, the Vietnamese, whatever happened to all that money in the end? Was it gathered?
I would say they kept it, used it, deployed it for themselves. I guess they buy more weapons, ammunition. I think one of the serious things is who has the most power? It's the guy with the guns, right? So guys with the most followers.
So do you think anybody that's a communist would just join them just out of power instead of?
I guess
out of what they believe in.
Power, I guess that's what they pretty much believe in, is power, just get there, just relax, you don't have to work hard, you can just take things, it's easier that way.
Pushing on other people?
Yeah, just take things, it's easier to do that.
Do you know any fun facts about Vietnam?
Fun facts.
I'm not sure fun facts, but like you said, you did like also research that the Americans were also responsible for some conflict there.
Yeah, I even read reports that were, I guess there's somewhere I was reading that the U.S. Air Force, they were not to target the anti-aircraft unless they were told to do it. So, even if, like a bomber passed by and they spotted like a couple anti-aircraft, they were not to bomb it at all. They would just forget it, keep flying. So
why?
I'm not sure.
So it's basically like, they're only there for one main reason?
I don't know. Again, war.
But it's a bomber. It's just like,
yeah, war is money, and someone's making money, and
so they only went there to benefit it from.
I guess the weapon industry benefits the most. I'm not sure if the U.S. got anything out of it. Some would say they stopped communists from spreading, but once you get past Vietnam, where else are you going to go? The Pacific Islands? I mean, that's even tough. Those islands are kind of tough to take out, for communists to spread.
So it's like in the end, nothing really actually got changed.
I don't think anything got changed, but I am curious on what happened if the Americans, did not intervene. What would the outcome be like?
What do you think? What do you think it would be like?
I don't know. I'm curious myself. I think South Vietnamese would probably have a chance. I mean, I noticed that there's always some sort of stalemate, or I mean, look at North Korea. North and South Korea. Americans kind of intervened there. I mean, Middle East, Americans intervened there. So it's like, I don't know.
I mean, there's like, as far as I'm concerned, there was a town in Vietnam that they were dropping A-bomb. Well, they did A-bomb strike there. And there was like a lot of kids, and it was just like an innocent town. It was just like a huge accident that happened. There were like kids, people dying, innocent people dying. Did that happen a lot?
I'm not really sure on that one.
Because there's like oh, and also like if you see in the news, well, I saw older reports in the news, right, that there would be people that would, I don't know the guy's name, he would set himself on fire to represent a message.
Yes, that's when people take religion to an extreme level, and I believe the guy that was burning, he was burning himself alive. That was he was a Buddhist monk, and he set himself on fire. I guess it was a demonstration, and I guess that particular event kind of caught the world's attention. But every religion can have an extremist.
So it's like, what was the meaning of, like, what was the point of it? Like, stop the wars?
You know what? I never looked into that one. I always thought it's like, you know what? I don't know.
I don't know. Do you have any Vietnamese traditions in your house?
There are any tradition. Well, Tet, it's a holiday. It's T-E-T. The E would have like a hat symbol on top of it. So
How do you pronounce it?
Tet?
Tet?
Yeah, Tet.
Tet.
That's a Chinese New Year's. It's based on the lunar calendar, and that's celebrated sometime. It's between January and February of every year. And I guess it's celebrating New Year's. Hoping for good luck. One thing I love out of that particular out of Tet is that as a kid, they would give you red envelopes. Those envelopes would contain like cash, $1 or $2, something like that. I got really happy when I was a kid. Oh, I got cash, yes.
How much money did you get?
Oh, it wasn't that much. It was like probably 15 or something like that. So.
That's a lot for a kid.
Yeah, a lot for a kid.
Okay, that's like any other culture? What did you guys have on? Like your mom, does she do anything that's like traditionally from Vietnam?
Oh, I guess she hasn't been doing it in a while. I guess she would have an altar, and she would I guess she would pray, and she would have like incense and kind of put on the altar. There is on the altar there's a plate. You would put all the fruits in there. It's kind of like offerings, to I guess to the dead, or hopefully they have an afterlife or something like that. So she used to do that every year, but I guess it's kind of slow down on it. Slow down on it.
So it's like once a year, or
Yeah,
how does that work?
it's typically once a year.
Is it like around what day, month, or anything?
I don't remember I don't really remember.
Because like in Mexico they have the Day of the Dead. That's one of those. And they kind of like that, but it's like a different celebration where they make parties in the graveyard. Right? Yeah, but also back to Vietnam. So like in Vietnam, do you know anything like about like any like side conflicts that were made other than just being communist?
One that I remember is called the Tet Offense. That is yes, that was they were calling for a ceasefire. Both sides were calling a ceasefire to celebrate the new year, coming into the year. But the North Vietnamese say, oh, we'll ceasefire. But on that particular day, they just went, I guess, killing on a killing spree.
So that was on like a holiday?
Yeah, it's right on a holiday, so, it's like one of the biggest, Vietnamese traditions, you just, both sides call it ceasefire, and, North just really, I guess, sly about it,